welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So after we read your bio, we kind of want you to share your story and kind of talk about your journey from like where you started, either in school or before that, and then what led you to your current occupation today.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
let's go. Let's go all the way back to College of the Redwoods
Mm.
in '85. How was your experience at College of the Redwoods? Did you study business admin at College of the Redwoods? Is that your first career path? And how was your experience there?
It was definitely not my career path. So I just prefacing that a little bit. One of the reasons that I ended up going to College of the Redwoods was I grew up in Ferndale. But when I was done with high school, I just thought, nope, I don't need to go on to school further. I just want to go and work. I want to make money. I'm done with school. So I actually moved down to San Luis Obispo and I subleased an apartment that my sister was renting down there. And it took me about 48 hours to realize that as soon as I started working at Taco Bell, I'm like, I am going to go back to college. So that was I still did 6 months down there because that was what the commitment was on my lease. And so as soon as I got back from that, I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go to college. So it was one of the best things that ever could have happened was just that evolution of how it came about. But I was really, really happy to go to CR. I was grateful that we have a local community college that I was able to attend to get my undergraduate stuff out of the way, my AA. So when I went to CR, at that point, I hadn't really made any decisions in terms of what I wanted to do. I knew that we had a lot of teachers in the family, so I thought that might be a possibility of teaching. That was always kind of in the back of my mind, but my focus going to College of the Redwoods was to get my AA and then to determine from there where I was going to go on to college after that.
Awesome. And what did you study when you were at College of the Redwoods?
Just my associates. So it was just my general ed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I didn't take any courses that would have been specific to any career track. And then when I got done with CR, having my AA under my belt, I actually went ahead and transferred down to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And I was going to go ahead and go there. That's where my two siblings had gone. A lot of my family had attended down there. And so I went down. I was there for about a year, and I actually went in under a dairy science major because it was so impacted in so many other areas that to get in, that was the major I needed to go in under. And then once I got down there, I switched to education. Then what happened was I went down after my second quarter and I broke my ankle. And so with that, I wasn't able to go back for my third quarter. So I was on crutches and my mom was a teacher. So she's like, well, come and help me in the classroom. And so again, at this point, I was a liberal studies major and I was planning to go into teaching. But as soon as I went into the classroom, and she had a 5th-6th split class. And so within about 15 minutes, I knew that teaching was not for me. It was really, really challenging. And
What grade was your mom teaching?
it was 5th-6th.
Oh, 5th, 6th.
Yeah. So I just stepped in to help her where I could, and it was really eye-opening. And I mean, the kids were great, but it was definitely, there was like 30 kids. It was a lot to manage. The classroom sizes were a bit bigger back at that time. Gave me a newfound respect for all teachers and my mom. But I knew that was not the career path for me. So it was a blessing in disguise that happened. So once I healed up, I went ahead and transferred up to Humboldt State, and was able to finish up I went ahead and switched to business management at that point, and then I was able to finish up there. So the good thing, what it made me do was some soul searching in terms of trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I was done with college. I really wanted to get a diversified major that was going to allow me to, live anywhere. But I was always intrigued by business, and it just seemed like it was also, there would be a lot of good career opportunities in going that route in terms of a credential. So that was one of the primary reasons as to why I did. And so I was really grateful that the evolution of my college path was really, really fortunate because it led me to where I was able to graduate with that degree, which has helped me tremendously with my career.
Yeah. You kind of answered all the questions I was going to ask you about like your college career, but how long was it between realizing education wasn't for you and when you wanted to go do business? And before you answer that, actually, your point on choosing something diverse like business is exactly what I did, because I came in as a film major, but that's only really one lane to go down. Whereas business, it's like you could do anything with a business degree. So I thought that was the smart choice for me to pursue business. And yeah, but yeah, what was the time gap between education not being for you and you going back to school here to get a business degree?
When I, like I was saying, when I was moved to San Luis and wasn't going to go to college, I knew pretty quickly that, like I said, I got a job at Taco Bell, and it was, it was a pretty hard job just from the standpoint of one, wasn't making going to make a lot of money. And we always had to do they were open until 2:30 every morning. They were the busiest Taco Bell in the entire nation, and they were going after the bar crowd, right? And so we always had to, work at least one of those shifts. So I was getting off at 4 a.m, and the brown polyester uniform. I'm dating myself right now in terms of that was quite the fashion statement. But after having worked there for a while, it was like, what are my opportunities going to be if I don't go back to school compared to what will my opportunities be if I do? And my parents always instilled in me growing up, and our all of us, there was 4 siblings, 4 of us. And so they instilled that from day one that, you're going to go to college. They were both teachers. They were really passionate about education. And so it was always like that was just what we were going to do. And my mom and dad were brilliant in that they said, if you go on to college, then we'll help support you through that process. But if you choose not to, then you're on your own. So when I moved down there, I was on my own, and it was a crash course in budgeting and making ends meet. And I didn't realize, how hard that was until I had to do it on my own. So it was another part of that process. So then after coming back up here and going to college, I still did not know what, again, career path I wanted to go down. And it was finally like after CR, and then going back down to school at Cal Poly in San Luis, spending almost a year down there. I was like, I really have to figure this out, because you could take some of those courses that you can use for multiple majors, but at some point you just have to define what path you're going to go down and then stick to it. And so that's when I really started talking to a lot of different people, getting input, feedback, and like I said, doing some soul searching, going, what is it I want to do when I'm done? And then that was when I looked at the opportunities that were out there and what was available. It was like that just really spoke to me. And then that's when I changed my major and finished up.
That's awesome. So in life, sometimes you have to try something and do something to figure out that that's not what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And, you did that with Taco Bell. You did that with teaching. For me, it was Pizza Hut and taxes. So, but eventually I found, I came across the SBDC and I really like it here. But I had to try to I had tried those things, while I was in school, and learned that I didn't enjoy doing those things. Nothing wrong with Pizza Hut and taxes, but
Just wasn't your lane.
wasn't my lane.
Yeah, I agree.
And I learned that the hard way, but I'm glad I did, and I was able to take something away from those places. And so yeah, I find that really interesting and really inspiring from your story. And so you're like, okay, Taco Bell not for me. Teaching, not really, not my cup of tea. I'm gonna go do this business administration, get this degree. You finish, you get your degree at HSU at the time. And what's next in your story? What happens after graduation?
Yeah, super great question, because I didn't know, right? I had my degree and I'm like, okay, now what? So first thing I did was I just started looking at the classified ads to see what was available, like who's hiring and what were the options out there. And I just started filling out applications. I knew that it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to come out of college and get a management job. I just knew that that was a very unrealistic expectation, nor did I even want to jump into that, because that's something you have to have pretty specific training for. And I knew that that was something that eventually that would evolve into it. But, you just kind of have to, you have to I think, set the right expectations, you're going to be kind of going in a lower level, from and how I got into banking was we have a family friend who she worked at U.S. Bank in Fortuna, and I'd gone in there one day and I saw her and I didn't know she worked there. So I went over and I was talking to her and I was asking her, just how she ended up in banking and what she liked about it, what she didn't like about it. And it was probably that conversation, honestly, that sort of, it landed me, well, first of all, it landed me applying for banking jobs. And so I applied at like 3 different financial institutions. At that time, U.S. Bank they had been Bank Lolita. They just became U.S. Bank, and they were hiring for a teller position. And, and I was perfectly fine with getting that job. At that point, the main thing, I probably had 5 different jobs while I was going to college, and I knew what I didn't want, which was basically working weekends, working nights, working holidays. I really wanted a Monday through Friday job. I wanted something with benefits, something that was reasonable in pay, and something that provided opportunities for advancement. So those were the main things I was looking for. And it was like, gosh, that banking fits that to a T. So I got offered a teller position. I took it. And then after about a year, they put me through a management training program, which was absolutely fantastic. It exposed me to a lot of different areas within the bank. And then that led me to the final job that I did was underwriting and commercial loan underwriting. And so after I did my management training program, then I started the underwriting. They put me into a permanent position with that, which got me into the commercial loan side of the house. And so it just provided me with a really fantastic opportunity. So because I was able to kind of look back on the different areas, I did consumer loans, I did new accounts, I did home loans, job shadowing in all those areas, and actually doing some of that hands-on. But I really, really enjoyed the commercial loan underwriting, which is what led me to take that job as more of a permanent position. And then it just kind of migrated from there.
Well, with that experience that you gained at U.S. Bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that translate over to Redwood Capital? Like, did you start an entry-level position there and work your way up to where you're at now? Or like, what position did you get at Redwood Capital when that job opportunity opened up?
So after I spent 4 years at U.S. Bank, and they were great to me, I was approached by someone from Humboldt Bank had been around for a little bit, but they were fairly new, but they were a local community bank.
By the way, Humboldt Bank is now Columbia Bank, and it was for a long time Umpqua Bank.
Wow, so it went through 3 name changes?
Yeah.
Apparently, I didn't know about it was called Humboldt Bank. I just learned that from my research.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, they were founded as Humboldt Bank, and then and I was there for 13 years. And then with that, I went over there as an underwriter because that was what my skill set had been.
What is an underwriter?
Basically, taking all of the information that's provided for a loan request and then analyzing that information to make a determination as far as, is this a feasible loan, a viable loan? You do things like you take all the financials and put them into spreadsheets, and then you do the body of the write-up to the underwriter doesn't do the approval part, but you just basically prepare the loan presentation to go to whoever's going to approve it.
Oh, cool.
Outside of your BA, what other requirements are there, like licensing and certification wise, to be an underwriter?
There's not, and a lot of underwriters don't even have a college degree. A lot of it is hands-on training. I mean, several do for sure, because it does help to have a strong financial background and understanding to be a good underwriter. But a lot of that too can be learned on the job. Almost all of what you do as an underwriter, you learn on the job.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is sponsored by AAA Productions, a Humboldt County video production company helping businesses create strategic, professional video content. If you've been wanting to start making video to grow your socials but don't know where to begin, AAA Production offers consultation and customized production packages to help you build a sustainable content strategy. Use the links below to get started today. Thank you, and back to the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, what with your 13 years at Columbia, what led you to get to Redwood Capital?
So then I I started doing commercial loans. Well, actually, what ended up happening was there was an assistant branch manager position that came available in Fortuna. And so I actually went down there and I took that position. And that gave me a lot of experience on the operational side of the house. So, because in banking, you kind of have your loan side and your operational side, they're pretty different paths. But that really rounded me out well by taking that position. And then I ended up, there was a commercial lending position, but it was very specific to SB loans that came available in Eureka. So I was offered that position and I took it and I did that for 5 years. And so that was really, really beneficial in expanding my skill set for the commercial loan side of things. And so from there, Redwood Capital Bank had started a couple years prior. And I had worked with John Dalby, who's our president and CEO. He had also worked at Humboldt Bank. So we worked together for quite a few years. And I've always had a lot of respect for John. And there was a commercial lending position that came available. And so he had connected with me, and Umpqua had purchased Humboldt Bank about 2 years prior. And so I worked for Humboldt for 13 and then Umpqua for 2. And then I thought, I really, really miss community banking. I miss working for a local community bank, and so which Redwood was. And so I went ahead and moved over and as a commercial lender. And then I did that for a few years and ended up going down to the Fortuna branch and managing the Fortuna branch for about 8 years. And then they moved me into the chief lending operations position, which then I moved back up to Eureka. And so I held that title for several years. And then was recently promoted to the chief operations officer, but I kind of wear a dual hat with that. So I still do both sides.
Well, congratulations on the promotion.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you very
congratulations.
much.
So you're senior vice president and COO. Which one came first?
I became a senior vice president when I became a chief lending officer. Those two were granted together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you just recently got promoted to COO.
Correct.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So from your perspective as senior vice president and chief operating officer, what part of the banking system do most people misunderstand the most?
I would say the complexity of it, because as a person that uses a bank, financial institution, a lot of what you do is you walk in to the teller line, you maybe give them a deposit, you maybe cash a check, or you do online banking, you use your phone, you use your computer. You're kind of doing the standard day-to-day types of things for what your needs are, right? On occasion, you might get a loan, so you go through that process. And so you're seeing that on the front end that, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's like I come in and you help me, do my business. And then, if you want a loan, it's like I provide you the information, you give me the loan, I buy my home, I buy a car, whatever it is. And then off I go. There's so much that happens on the back end of it that so many people don't have any idea the complexity of it. So we are a very regulated industry. And so from a compliance standpoint, we have so many things that we have to comply with constantly. Like we have audits that go on in the bank. I think we have like 13 audits a year. And that doesn't even include the true exams. The examiners come in and they do their exam. So we're constantly having auditors come in, and we're always, we have a great relationship with our auditors and examiners. Always have. And so that all goes fine, but there's a lot to it. I mean, it requires a lot of training. It requires a lot of staying up on all of those kinds of things. And just the processes in general, like all the things that go on in the back office, incoming wires, outgoing wires, ACH things, fraud. Fraud's a biggie. Fraud is continuing to increase so much. And that's one thing to your listeners out there, that's one thing that I can't emphasize enough, that, if you have the ability, go on every day and look at your accounts. Set up things that help to prevent fraud happening to start with, because anytime you can do that it's going to only benefit you in the long run. And some of those extra steps can be kind of a pain, but the faster you can detect fraud on your account, the higher the probability you're going to be able to get it back. But yeah, we're seeing with AI advancements, they're getting so much more sophisticated with it. So people just have to be even more extra diligent about managing their accounts. But yeah, all those processes that go in the back, the back part of the house, people don't see, they don't know, they don't understand, they don't realize. And there is a lot to it.
Yeah. Are you allowed to tell us any like crazy fraud stories that have happened with like a member at your bank or you guys or?
We had a recent, there was like 3 incidences. They all happened in a short period of time together. And it was really, really unfortunate because, and I don't know all of the ins and outs as to what led to it, but somehow there was the fraudsters, and this is something that they're starting to do more of, which is creating a lot of problems because it's tricking a lot of people. And so what the fraudster did was they reached out to our customer and they were able to mimic our phone number. And so when the phone call came into our customer, it said Redwood Capital Bank and it actually had our phone number. So when they answered the phone, they thought they were talking to a Redwood Capital Bank representative.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so what they did then was the fraudster said that, oh, we're showing that you have this charge on your account. Is this legitimate? And then, of course, they said no. And they were like, oh, well, we're going to send you a link and you need to go in and do XYZ. And so, unfortunately, several people did because they thought they were talking to a legitimate Redwood Capital Bank employee. And they did, and there were quite a few customers that did lose money over that. And we one thing I will say that we are so good about doing everything we possibly can to try to get that money back. Like we go so above and beyond just doing everything we can. But sometimes you can't because what happens is by the time, and that's tying into what I just said, the faster you can identify something like that happening, the higher the probability we'll be able to get the money back. We had like one lady who she called us right away and we got her money back. But we had another one, they waited like 5 days and the money was gone. And another one waited 3 days and that money's gone as well.
Ooh.
And I know, and it was just really, really, really unfortunate and sad.
Now this has just opened up a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
I'm super curious now. What's the process like if like a fraudster steals somebody's money? Are you guys FDIC insured? And how come you guys can't use like, I guess, government fund, if you are FDIC insured, to just put that money back? Or are you supposed to like find the wire transfer and stop it like as fast as possible? How does that whole thing work?
Yeah, so as soon as it's brought to our attention that frauds occurred, then what we do is we contact the bank on the other end where the money went, like immediately. And we put out a fraud claim, and just basically say, this is what occurred. And then it's like, send us the money back. Like we do that very like instantaneous. And then the bank on the other end, they have a certain number of days that they can respond back to us. And so we wait to hear what they say back. So that's why the faster that we can notify them, the higher the probability they'll be able to get that money back. But if the more time that goes by, then the less chance. Because what a lot of them will do is, as an example, they'll come in and they'll steal credentials, and then they'll go in and they'll transfer money out like through ACH or something like that, and then it will go into a different bank, and then as soon as it hits, they'll come in and they'll take that money out of the account. So they try to drain it as fast as they can because they know that we're going to try to get it back for the customer. So that's why time is really of the essence with all of it. So that's sort of what the process entails. The FDIC insurance, that doesn't play into it at all. What that is for is that in the event a bank were to fail, then that is what you would be protected through FDIC in terms of the money that you would have the rights to come back to you. So that's that $250,000 coverage. So say you had $260,000 in your bank account and a bank failed, and they didn't have the money to give you back your deposit, then you would give it $250 back of the $260,000.
Oh, okay.
So that's where FDIC insurance comes into play.
Okay, so you guys can't, or like, if the fraudster takes the money out of the account and fraud's like known between, say, you guys and like Chase, you guys can't just pull money out of like the bank's bank account and give it back to the customer? Or is there like laws and regulations around that?
There's a lot of laws and regulations around it that we have to comply with. And at the end of the day, the way the customer's going to get it back is by us reaching out to the financial institution that we have to work with. And that's where I have to give a ton of kudos to our back office, because they are scrappy. Like they are really, really, really good. Like, they'll try to call a bank and, sometimes it's so hard getting a hold of anyone, and they will stay on hold for an hour. They will, like, they'll walk across the street to chase. They'll do anything they can to kind of go above and beyond for a customer to try to get that money back. And, sometimes it's just, unfortunately, it's like the money's gone, and we're going to bend over backwards to do what we can. But especially when we've been notified several days after the incident occurred, that's when the probability goes way up. You're not going to get the money back.
Interesting. Yeah. Sorry for taking us down that rabbit hole.
No,
I was
I'm
super
really glad you
interested.
brought it up, though, because that awareness is so important. And that's why I tell people, please try to look at your accounts daily. And especially if there's anything out of the order, your spidey senses, listen to your spidey senses. And that whole thing with the fraudster being able to use our phone number and the fact that it said Redwood Capital Bank, I mean, that shows you how advanced they're getting. And I don't blame a customer for, because we look at our phone for caller ID, right?
Mhm.
If it says it, then you believe it. A year from now, we won't anymore, because now this is the evolution of AI, right? And so, so we're always constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve in terms of, how to ID people, how to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect our customers, because it's of the utmost importance to us to make sure we do that.
Yeah, fraud is it's on the rise. It's it's getting
It's always been there.
It's
yeah.
always been
It's
there.
getting worse.
It's getting out of control. What can we do to prevent fraud as account holders? What are some steps? What are some preventative actions that we can take to make sure that our bank accounts are safe?
I think the most important thing is looking at your accounts regularly, like I had mentioned. There's other things that financial institutions offer that you could certainly sign up for. A lot of those are geared more towards businesses, though. Like we have a thing called Positive Pay, where basically every single check that's coming through, the administrator on that account has to approve before we'll actually pay it. Businesses a lot of times are really the ones more heavily targeted for fraud. And so there's just certain precautions. It's a really great question to ask your individual financial institution, because they're all different in terms of what they provide for that. But I do think that that's the number one thing, is just really keep close eye on your accounts and seeing what's clearing, because if something's clearing and you are not, you didn't write the check, or you didn't send the ACH or the wire or whatever, then the faster you can respond to that, the higher the probability. And what ends up happening too is when we have fraud on accounts, then we have to shut it down and reopen a new account, and it's a pain.
Done that like 5 times with my credit card. Yeah,
Me too. 4.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's a nightmare.
It's not a fun process. And so, when you get compromised like that, then and it kind of shakes you, right?
Scary, yeah.
Well, it is. And it's, that's why people are just having to be so much more diligent than they used to be in the past. And it's just so sad to me to see people taking these losses, and some of them have been really, really sizable.
What's the biggest loss you've seen a customer take from fraud?
Like,
Really?
yeah,
Dude, that's so sad.
so sad. It's just heartbreaking.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
As I'm just like super stoked to have someone in the banking industry on. How do remote check deposits work?
Remote deposit capture. Is
Yeah.
that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like
Well,
where you or where you take a photo.
Oh yeah,
and-
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that's what you do. So you have your check there, and you take a picture of the front and the back of it, and then you upload it, and then that will be deposited directly into your account.
But what goes on in the back end? Does someone look at it and type in the numbers, or is there like a scanning system that looks over like all the banks in the world and stuff?
Yeah. So what will happen is that it comes in. So our back office reviews those as they come through. They're going to look at them, and there's going to be limits on those too, because that there's also some risk involved, because if somebody does that and then they
Oh, I've never thought of that. That's so snarky.
I probably shouldn't have
Yeah,
mentioned
I'll cut that. I'll bleep that out.
Yeah, bleep that out. There you go.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, maybe bleep out that amount I gave you too. I probably shouldn't have. Yeah, I can't think of
That's-
anything as to why that would have been an issue, but I'd cut that out too.
Yeah,
That's totally
we'll
fine.
be sending you a review link to
Okay.
make sure that we got everything. But I'll bleep out
Okay.
all the numbers. What you just said about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
Don't
don't
is bad. It's fraudulent behavior, and you will
Triples
go to jail.
and triples worse. Yeah.
You just made-
Triples worse.
you just made my editing time longer by saying that. Now I got to figure out where that's at and cut it. So thank you, bro. I
I
appreciate
got
it.
you. I got you. Got to keep you busy.
Job
you know?
security.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, but yeah. So, what is like the internal systems that go on for depositing a remote check?
Yeah, so it's basically back office reviews all of them, and then they're just looking to make sure that everything looks in sync, in check, and that there's no issues. And then also, if you have a larger one, then does it warrant a hold? Because sometimes that can occur too. So even though that would be a little after the fact of the deposit coming through, we might have to put a hold on it for a variety of reasons. So it's processed almost exactly as if you were to walk into the bank and hand it to a teller. The only difference, of course, is that it's just all done through the back end.
So there's still a manual process to
Yeah.
it. Okay. Do you
Yeah.
ever think that's gonna change?
Possibly. I mean, like the larger financial institutions, it's already got to be all automated because there's no way that they would have the bandwidth to be able to. Because I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them coming through, I'm sure, and that's only going to be more. Because that's the other thing that ties into the fraud we were talking about earlier, as because we want to be able to provide things that make life easier for our customers. But a lot of times with that does come increased fraud. And so there's sort of that whole checks and balances that you have to have in place to make sure that, that those things don't occur. But yeah, I would say that with time and the evolution of technology and that kind of thing, like getting something in place that can do that on an automated way without actually having to have manual sets of eyes on it. I can't imagine that technology is not right around the corner. And I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of solutions that are coming out that will streamline those kinds of processes.
Well, I wanna shift gears here. I do like this conversation topic. It is interesting, but I do want to speak a little bit about commercial lending.
Yeah.
As chief lending officer, what separates businesses that look strong on paper from the ones that actually perform over time?
Really good question. The thing as a commercial loan officer, you're the one that gets to work and interact with the customer directly, right? So we're the ones talking with them. We're the ones that have worked with them in the past. And we have a history with them. And, so you're able to get a pretty good gauge in just your conversation with them, the questions that you ask and the types of answers that you get, maybe their ability in terms of management and that kind of thing. Paper is what paper is, right? So they turn in a loan package and it's like, okay, here's my tax returns, here's my interim financial statement, here's my budget, here's my projection, whatever all that might look like. And so the underwriters are all looking at that and they're spreading it and trying to measure that degree of risk. Like, okay, does it make sense to do this loan based upon XYZ? Well, the part that they're not seeing is that interpersonal aspect of it. And sometimes I'll meet with a customer and I'm so blown away at how advanced they are just from like a managerial standpoint, a business mind and all the things. And maybe they don't look the best on paper for a variety of reasons, but you can tell by talking with this person that they really, really know what they're doing. They understand business, they understand financials. You just know in your gut that they're going to be successful versus, you may be talking with someone and it's kind of like, oh, I have a feeling that they're maybe going to be, maybe they're in an industry that's struggling and you just kind of have that sense that they may have some significant challenges down the road. And so it's sort of that one-on-one conversations that you're having with people that don't translate to paper that do make a huge difference. I'll use an example of a gal she's just absolutely fantastic. She's one of the best call it managers that I've ever worked with. And she's she's just really sharp. And we were talking about her business, and I was just asking her the question, well, how are things going? And for the particular focus of their business, it had gotten a little bit more challenging because there was more competition around it. So what she did was they also had a couple of the other smaller services that they provided to their customers, but they weren't really taking off in that department so much because they were like focused on this other one. Well, with the upcoming competition, what she did was she really pivoted and she took those other areas that they were, not just the two other areas that they were doing, but then also looked at other possible opportunities that they could do with their business. And then she brought a third one in and implemented that. And then she just dissected those other two. Like, what's going on in terms of the income? What's the potential? Can we expand these? What are our margins on these? What are they really contributing to the profitability of the business? And what does it mean from a cash flow standpoint if we were to expand those two areas, bring this third one on? So she axed one of them, kept the second one, and brought this third one in. And then they started kind of cutting back a little bit on their main business and then really started taking off on these other ones. And it was just so impressive listening to her and how she really dissected everything. And she understood margins and she understood her balance sheet and she understood all of these different things. And it's like, I'm going to go to the mat for someone like that because I know she is not going to fail. Like she is so rock solid. And I told her, I said, I feel like you should do some kind of a training for management and, business ownership. And she's just really, really, really incredibly sharp. And, so like I have no problems if something, so say she comes to me with a loan request and it's like kind of borderline. It's like, this is a little bit of a tweener. I'm absolutely going to go to the mat to advocate for her because I feel that strongly about her capabilities and that she's going to get that loan paid back.
When you say going to the mat, is that, going to the rest of the people that, make the decision on approval?
Yeah.
So you're going to go to the mat and you're going to fight for her approval.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So if
Going to the mat, I like
going to the mat.
I'm going to use that. I like that.
Come up fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. If like my CCO, if she's like a little bit worried about it, then I'm going to just explain to her why I feel like this is a really good loan. And, it may look a little bit risky, but this is why we should do it. And, and she's typically going to listen to that.
Hello, everybody. I'm Luke Kennedy, building manager at Startup Humboldt. Behind the Redwood Curtain is recorded and produced at Startup Humboldt. Startup Humboldt is a co-working space mentorship hub for entrepreneurs building real businesses here on the North Coast. You can learn more at startuphumboldt.com.
Yeah, you were talking about industries that could be falling off. They could be great, but their industry isn't great, or like their financials could be good, but they're not a good person. What are there industries you are more confident lending to? Sorry. Are there industries you are more confident lending to and others where your caution increases significantly?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment because certain industries are going to be a little bit more challenging dependent upon the overall risk associated to their ability to, because there's certain percentages that you can pull up and look at. So as an example with restaurants are considered very high risk because a lot of them don't make it. It's a very hard business to be successful in, and it's even more difficult nowadays with inflation and labor costs going up. And so lending to the restaurant industry is going to be considered more risky just automatically by nature of the defaults. So that would be an area where we'd have a little more heightened risk. But one of the nice things about being a community bank is we also participate in a lot of government guaranteed programs that would provide a guarantee on a loan. So we can make loans that may be a little riskier by getting a guarantee on them. It kind of mitigates that potential risk. So the hospitality industry, a lot of banks won't even loan into like hotels and that kind of thing. They view them as higher risk because they're so prone to recessions. And typically on like a hotel loan, you're going to have a 25-year loan, but it's kind of like, over 25 years, they're probably going to hit a recession of some sort. And so they won't even loan into the hotel industry. So those are just some examples of industries that are considered higher risk across the board. But again, there's also ways to mitigate that depending upon the circumstances.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew restaurants were high risk, but I didn't know hotels were because I feel like at some point they'd always have like a few rooms booked out. But you bringing up the point on recession, like that's like a real thing. So that's actually a pretty cool insight. What is there like a number one industry you won't lend to, like no ifs, ands, or buts, or is it you give everyone like a fair shot?
No, I would say there's no industry that we don't lend into. Cannabis is one, one that we don't lend into directly, and that's just because of the federal legal status of it. But we do have a cannabis policy, so there's certain things that we do a little bit with that. Not lending to cannabis producers directly, but I would say that probably be the industry that we don't lend into directly. But then the other ones too, what happens a lot of times is if somebody comes to us and if we're not able to do the loan, then one of our goals is to try to find somewhere we can refer them to that can help them. And so we work a lot with both North Edge, which was formerly AEDC, Arcade Economic Development Corporation, as well as REDEC, which is Redwood Regional Economic Development Commission, and they're both in Eureka. And they are fantastic. So a lot of times if we can't help a business, then we'll refer them to one of the two of them, and a lot of times they'll be able to put something together for them. So that's really important to us, is to still try to help the customer even if it's something we can't do.
And Redwood Capital Bank and these economic development commissions, there's like collaboration options, correct? Like you'll split the risk with that loan between REDEC and Redwood Capital, and those are available, correct?
Yeah, there's some things we call gap financing where we'll fund a portion of it and they'll fund a portion of it. So we're in it together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you
Yeah.
have those options because it splits the risk, between the lenders, and it makes it a lot more viable for the lenders. And then it also, creates more opportunity for the clients to secure capital. And if you're interested in learning more about commercial borrowing, figuring out what type of deals you can get, and learning more about the different lenders and what their options are, you can come on down to the Small Business Development Center. You can meet with a business advisor, and you can discuss lending, discuss borrowing power, and learn about what your options are as a borrower. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. And we work with Redwood Capital Bank as well as other lenders to help folks secure financing. And you mentioned earlier about how important it is for business owners and management to understand finances, understanding your balance sheet, your P&L, your margins, where you're making money, where you're losing money. If you want to understand that better as a business owner, come on down to the SBDC. You can work with an advisor, learn your finances, have a better understanding of those, of those financial statements. And, that will put you in a better position to borrow. So, yeah, but just wanted to put that out there. And, we'll continue on here.
Can I add to that too?
Yes, please.
So glad you brought that up because one thing I want to make clear to people is that the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, we love them. They are absolutely fantastic. A lot of their services are free, and we are so lucky to have them available to us. So I highly encourage anyone to take advantage of that. And everything you said is absolutely spot on. So would always encourage people to utilize our SBDC. We're very lucky to have them here. They are the ones who provide the business advising. So they can help with business applications, business projections, business plans, understanding your financials. Now, North Edge and REDEC are their actual lenders. So you can go to those two places and get loans. SBDC does the advising aspect of it.
Yeah. The SBDC, we don't loan the money. We help you get the money from the lender.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Great plug, bro.
Yeah.
You're getting so good at that.
I'm getting
Yeah.
solid at those.
He
Okay.
does that every episode.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. This is my little pitch, my little.
Yeah. The first like 3 times he tried it, he always cracked up.
It's
like,
hard
midway
not to.
through.
It's
Yeah.
hard. I always break.
But
You
even-
did
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
Oh
was,
yeah, I'm like, I'm going to SBDC.
Yeah. That
Man.
was probably the best one so
that was
far.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like working towards it too. You
Yeah.
know, I was like.
It was perfect.
Speaking of loans, I know Humboldt County isn't known for being like the most like economically like, I don't know the word for this, like economically sound place. Like say like LA. I don't even know if that's the right term, but like LA and the Bay Area, like, they got tons of money going around. What is the biggest loan Redwood Capital Bank has ever given out in Humboldt history?
So we have what we call our legal lending limits, and that's all predicated on a percentage of capital. So there's like a certain amount that we can loan as a maximum. And so right now, if it's a secured loan, I think we're right about 15 million would be the maximum we can loan to any one borrower, because they look at aggregated amounts. If it's considered unsecured, I think it's 8 million. I'm just using kind of rounding numbers right now. So we do have a couple that have hit that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And then what happens is if so say they come to us and they want more, we can always do what we call participations with other financial institutions where we split it, just kind of what you were just talking about a little bit ago. So we can continue to help the customer. We just have to partner with another bank to do that.
And all of these big loans that you have, like you hit your max on, is there a bigger background check that goes on to make sure that they pay that back? Because that could put you guys in some risk, right?
Yeah, the underwriting is probably a little bit more, diligent with underwriting on those. But they're typically going to be real estate secured, so that is always going to mitigate some of the risk. But a lot of times too, it's all, the numbers kind of offset each other. So it's like, yeah, the loan numbers are high, but what they do from a business standpoint is also very, very high too. So it's commensurate with their business. So but no, we definitely have some of those in Humboldt County for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we only have about 6 minutes left. Are there anything else that you want to talk about before we get wrapped up here?
I got a question.
Yeah, fire away.
Why should people choose to bank with Redwood Capital Bank?
Oh, that is a great question. Well, first of all, Redwood Capital Bank, we are 100% here in Humboldt County, right? We were founded here. Our roots are here. We have 4 branches. Basically, we employ 82 employees. And there is something to be said, I think, about a small financial institution from the standpoint of, first of all, our service bar is very, very, very high. So everything that we do, every single employee that works at that bank has solid customer service drilled into them. Like, take care of our customers, period. That is our number one non-negotiable. Like, customer service is our main goal always. And so with that, like, we kind of overstaff our branches a little bit. So we don't like our people to have to wait in lines. So customers come in, and you might have to from time to time, but overall, we try to really cut back on that so that people can come in and get their business done and go on their way. When you call the bank, you get a live person. We don't have a phone tree. We do a lot of training, so whoever is answering the phone can typically take your problem and get it resolved if you've got a problem or if you need a transaction or whatever that looks like. But with that, we're a full service bank. We provide consumer loans, so we do residential real estate, we do vehicle loans, we do a lot of commercial lending. We provide on the deposit side of the house. I feel like we do a great job with that too, pretty much full solution financial institution. So we can pretty much take care of everyone's needs for the most part. But the bottom line is that your deposits that you make in Redwood Capital Bank, we turn around and we loan them out into our community. So it's that round trip dollar. So your deposits truly, we put them to work in Humboldt County to, help our economy and help our businesses grow. So it's really, I'm just a really solid, firm believer in supporting local community businesses. And, we definitely fall within that. And I feel like our service levels are second to none.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
What is the difference, and you kind of already answered this, between a big financial institution and a local rooted bank institution?
Well, it's probably going to be dependent upon what your needs are, from the standpoint, because there's definitely things that the really big financial institutions can do, maybe that a small community bank could not. So if you have that need, just as an example, I was talking about our legal lending limit. Will somebody say they need a $20 million loan? Well, we could probably do some kind of participation, or maybe they need a $40 million loan, then they're probably going to go to one of the larger financial institutions to get that. So that would be an example of where that would work for them. If they're a super complex borrower and they do tons of international business and international wires, and they've got like all of these special needs that they have, then a larger financial institution might be a better fit for them. But if you're looking for just really exceptional service and you're looking for, an institution that you feel can, we always say make it the highlight of our customers' day. And, that really is one of the things I love about our front line. Our staff is absolutely amazing. But if that's the kind of service you're looking for, then I would say that a community bank is definitely for you. We had I was just talking to a lady the other day. She's been banking with us for 2 years now. She moved over from a major, and she goes, I just don't know why anybody would not bank at Redwood Capital Bank. She goes, I wish we would have moved a long time ago. We don't have to wait in line. Everyone is so friendly. We always feel like when we come in there, people know us, and we just have such an incredible experience every time we come into the bank. And so it's like, and that's what we strive for, so I really appreciated her comments.
That's awesome. Do we anything else that we would like to ask, or anything else that you would like to add?
I'm just sad our time's over. I feel like we just got going, and
I
now
know
we have to end.
There's so many questions I want to ask you, like all those rabbit holes we were going down earlier. Like, I just want to continue talking like basically forever about this because it's so interesting, and banks are a big part of everyone's lives. But yeah, maybe we can get you on again soon.
Yeah, I would love to come back.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks,
Felt
guys.
a lot shorter than an hour.
I know. Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah, flew by.
we had Fred on Monday.
Oh yeah,
and that one only ran for about 45 minutes, and there were a bunch of questions that I didn't get to ask him, so we got to ask you about it. But like, yeah, time flies fast on these.
It went really fast. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Thank you. Yeah. We hope to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. That's another episode of Behind the Redwood Curtain. If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more just like this. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.